Great. And welcome to the Thursday, May 11th, 2023 Natrona County Parks Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Sure. Rob Hill, present.
Jim Miller, President.
Crystal Bratfield, present.
And Douglas Irvin, present. And
Michael Brown, present.
And we have our illustrious representative from the County Commission, Dave North, with us. Next up is the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up on the agenda is the approval of the April meeting minutes. Do I have any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the April 13th meeting minutes.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. And we're on to our reports from our Parks Director. Michael, please take it away.
All right, so first up on the mountain is the Casper Mountain Trail Center. The bid is being discussed by the county commissioners. I'm to attend a meeting with the architect tomorrow afternoon. I don't recall what time, to discuss that further, kind of a closed conversation between the lowest bidder and the architect to see where there's a possibility of saving some of the cost of the bid. The bear trap shelters, I have funding to bid out the east shelter, but I'm waiting on legal to get the okay to advertise that bid. So not much new there. The trailhead kiosks that RDG had started design on. I discussed that at a work session with the commission because they requested an ad service to their contract. They asked to have legal review their old contract, the ad service, and what we've paid on that contract to date. So that's in legal as well. The Summer Trail Master Plan, I submitted to the Parks Board the final draft for May 5th for review so that I could submit it to the county commissioners. It was just brought to my attention that possibly we haven't had it available for the public adequately, so we may need to get that posted on our website and then postpone putting it in front of the commission till their next available meeting. So if, let's see, I think that would be in June. But the work session or the agenda to approve that with them is dictated by the chairman of the commission, so I'll have to discuss that with him. So yeah, so if we need to get additional public input, then we'll need to delay the commissioner's approval.
And could you just quickly summarize the changes since the board saw it
Yeah.
last? We
So,
just briefly went over it, but.
Simply on the cover page, I put a date and a block that says adopted by Natrona County Commissioners on a specific date that they can, a blank date, that they can fill that in by hand. On page 27, the prioritization cost estimation, I had them add a statement that says all work will need to be reviewed and approved by Natrona County Parks prior to the commencement of the work. And that's just basically so that there can be a checks and balances, a sign off of what's in this plan and who's doing it. And then in the phase 1, 2, and 3, the I had them remove the estimated dates of work, because when I don't know the funding model for this or the budget to be approved, it's best to kind of generalize that. And then the last thing that was done is Phase 2 and 3. They had a line item for the Wyoming Conservation Corps to do the work, and their prices have adjusted. It used to be, I think, 12.5 or 12.6, and now it's 15,000 per trip. So I had them adjust that so that we had a better understanding, more accurate numbers in this cost analysis.
Yeah, and another point to your requiring the park sign off is if we are doing grant work to fund this, you'll be responsible for reporting that.
Correct.
You're definitely going to need to be very much in the forefront of understanding scheduling and all the financials. Any questions on that short summary? Okay. Thank you, Michael.
I got a quick question on that, Chairman. Michael, when that work takes place with the, on the bridle trail, are you or is Joe or is someone going to be there on hand to kind of direct and guide?
Yes, it'll be either myself or Joe. We'll probably have, I think they prefer to have daily morning meetings before the work starts. The Parks Department will be providing material. If gravel's needed, we'll be providing that. If there's timbers that are needed to shore up the trail in areas or whatever materials they'll need. So as soon as the snow clears completely from the trail, we're going to do a walkthrough and flag the specific areas. County Parks will also provide signage for trail closures for some of the spurs that need to be closed. But they'll bring most of the hand tools needed to do the work. And we're going to stage the core up in, I believe, Elkhorn Springs Campground. We're going to block off 3 sites for them in August for them to set up camp. They'll be able to get drinking water from the maintenance building, and there's an outhouse close there. So, and I think they come to town once or twice during their 8-day stay. So they're pretty self-sufficient. But yeah, well, and I believe Commissioner Nicolason also stated an interest in meeting the crew or being at a couple of the morning meetings and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of the status of that. And that's in early August. I think they start August 6th, maybe August 8th. I have it on my calendar at work.
I think maybe one of us on the advisory board would like to attend that meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
That's in the daily meetings?
I'd like to,
Okay.
first couple meetings, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then whenever you want to do a walkthrough, I'd love to go with you on that. As you're right, there's still quite a bit of snowdrifts. I was up on the upper loop this weekend, and there was still some serious steep snow up there.
Yes, I went up the east side, just to the top of what I call the staircase.
Yeah.
Because I got an email that there were inappropriate stickers on some of the signs. And so there was one there, somebody had already removed most of it. I removed the rest, and then there were some other stickers on the signs that weren't offensive like that one, but I worked on removing those as well. So, yeah, it's a little treacherous with the snow, especially if you're wearing a pair of running shoes.
Yeah.
So,
We might need to do a little cleanup work above the observation decks. There was one tree down that was sticking out in the trail.
yeah, and up on the top of the east trail,
Yeah.
there's a big tree that's clear across there that you have to navigate through.
Yeah,
So-
if I get the time, I'll let you know and work out if I can go up and get that blocked up or not, but.
Yeah, so my staff will probably be doing some trail maintenance here in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Um,
If there's anything I can do to help, though, just
Okay.
let me know. because they got a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the bridle trail?
All right, we'll move on to the lakes. The Pathfinder Campground at Diabase, the boat ramp is completely poured. They're finishing up the shouldering with riprap on the top half. We've installed the Easy Dock boat docking system. It's a floating modular system, so it's laying on there. It's not usable yet, as they're still doing construction, and the water is just probably a foot up past the edge of where they poured the ramp. All of the RV site, concrete pads have been poured, most of the road base has been put in, the contouring is done, the outhouse has been installed, the trash enclosure pad has been poured. I do not know if they poured all the shelter. We have 12 by 12 picnic shelters at each site. I do not know if that concrete has been poured yet. The old boat ramp, because they have some additional pouring to do, and it'll probably, I asked them to fill in some of the big holes in the old ramp, so, and they need to do a little edge repair on the old ramp from the heavy equipment going off of it, so that's where we're at with that. Pathfinder Road, the main road in from the highway, has road damage from the heavy haul traffic. Road and Bridge is discussing that with the contractor to see where we can come up with a solution for that. So if you drive out there, drive slow. We do have road damage signs up, but sometimes, you know, you get between the signs and it looks good, and then you come over a hill and there's a pretty good chunk of damage, so you just take it slow. The camping reservation system, last Monday, a few days ago, we shut it down, all on the mountain, everything, 91 days before the start of the Bear Trap Festival. Just like we did for the 4th of July at the lake and the mountain. And so we turned it on at noon the other day, and it filled up really quick. Obviously, there's frustration because some folks didn't get in, but this allowed them to reserve their entire stay over that weekend, because when the festival is going on, you cannot move trailers in and out very well. It's almost impossible. And so we've done this. It gives everybody a fair shot. You know, I kind of correlate it to when you try and buy a concert ticket for a place down in Colorado, and you sign up and you're ready to go, and you're logged in and ready, and then it's sold out before you even get a ticket. So there's quite a bit of usage. And I believe that last year the National Guard had their ops tents and some Humvees and things, and did a ruck hike up there last year. Well, the only scheduled date they have is the same as the festival. So they've spoken with Town Square Media, and I need to get this all coordinated, but Town Square Media said it'd be okay if they did it in the south meadow, at the south end, because usually there's nothing going on there. So that may be going on at the same time. I just need to verify some things, but so the meadow will be full.
They did a family day too, though, last year.
Yeah,
National
but
Guard did.
I think this is even up past there, so I need to coordinate with Town Square. I put in a request with them because I haven't had a meeting yet about the music festival yet to see what they need. We usually have pre-planning meetings a couple of times before the festival, so.
No, I mean, the Guard had the family day, and they had picnics, and they had it catered, and all the families went at the same time they did the ruck march.
Was that when they had the big ops tent?
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, so I need to coordinate that to have both events going on at the same time, because,
That
you know,
road.
families aren't gonna wanna pay to go see the National Guard through the festival gates,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of logistics that have to be figured out. That came across my desk yesterday, actually, so that's real fresh. I have provided to the board a table of pending and approved construction applications for the Alcova cabins and Alcova Trailer Park, as well as there's probably some in here from the boat club and the ski club and the marina. This is a sample of what I'm dealing with out there for applications and timelines. The first page is everything that's active right now. Well, let me clarify that. This is everything active as of March 27th. I've not been able to update this at this time, but it'll give you an idea of what's going on out there. Walkways, decks, docks, tree removal, flagpoles, dock roofs, septic. So it'll kind of give you an idea, and if you have any questions, we can discuss it in more detail and show you guys. But it was suggested that I start sharing this with you. I guess in the past, the Parks Board has actually reviewed these construction applications. And as you can see on some of these, you have County Building Department, County Parks Department, the Bureau of Rec, and the Army Corps of Engineers, all involved in a project. And then when it becomes a septic system or whatnot, you also have to add into the Health Department and sometimes the Wyoming DEQ. So sometimes projects take longer than people hope for, but this is kind of the process. This is how I am able to keep track of it. When I started 2 years ago, I had 67 pending projects that summer. And now I think there's 20 on this front page right now. Now, a lot of these, I'm waiting for more information. It's kind of a shuffle back and forth. They do a request, I ask for more information or guide them to go to the building department, and then it kind of stalls out. So that's kind of a summary of what's going on there. That's my report. Are there any questions? Any other projects that you guys are curious about?
Just one question. Has legal given you any ETA on our pending items with them? 'Cause
No.
some of these have just been stalled.
No.
And is the,
And I have email strings that go back quite a ways on that, so.
okay. Board members, do we have any questions for the director?
I'm just looking at the document that you gave us. So we've got 4 entities that the tenants out there need to work with, and each one requires a separate inspection.
Well, it's not an inspection, so it
Or is it?
depends. It depends. Sometimes the building department's not involved at all.
Okay.
Because if it's flat work or erosion repair or a tree removal, or a flagpole, they're not involved. If it's structural, then they need to be involved. The Bureau of Rec is only involved when there's ground disturbance or a significant improvement. So
Okay.
if they're simply replacing their deck with the same footprint, but they're only doing, they're not doing the footers or anything, they're using the same posts, Bureau Rec doesn't need to approve that. Now, this list, I share with the Bureau Rec on a somewhat regular basis
Okay.
to kind of keep them included. That way, if somebody's painting their cabin and the Bureau Rec's out doing weekly inspections, they can say, okay, yeah, they've gone through the Parks Department, instead of having to email me and say, did you give approval for this? But when there's ground disturbance, yes. And then the Army Corps of Engineer is involved only when you're doing work in the lake bed. So if you're doing a new dock and you're setting footers and new uprights, you have to get Army Corps of Engineer approval for that work. So.
Okay.
And then the health department and DEQ is only involved when it's a septic system.
So do they go through you and then you have to do all of this, or
So the way this usually works, I've talked with several people and several owners out there, and I let them know, it's like, well, if you have a project, feel free to call me, and I'll see if it's something that is a viable project, because if they want to build a deck that's over 400 square feet, that's not allowed. So simply reviewing it that way saves them from going through the building permit process and paying those fees when it won't be approved. But in their site modification guidelines, it specifies for most projects that you need to go to the development department, get a building permit, and then I get flagged in their system and I review that to make sure it complies with the site modification guidelines.
Okay.
And if it does, then I sign off, I don't sign off, I submit that application to the Bureau Rec, and they review it, and they review it once there's a conditional approval with the buildings department. They review it, they send me a letter of approval, I attach that to the building department permit, and then I sign, I complete or approve for the Parks Department on that. So in the building department permit application, there's sometimes the planning department has to check off, sometimes the health department has to check off. And as long as there's not ground disturbance, it goes a lot quicker, because the Bureau Rec does a NEPA analysis, a National Environmental Protection Act analysis, and that can take anywhere from, the earliest I've seen it's 2 weeks. I've seen some that have taken 3 to 6 months. So.
okay, thanks.
And the biggest thing out there is the Bureau Rec is the landowner. Natrona County is the managing agent or the landlord. And then you have the tenants, which are the cabin owners, the trailer owners, and the clubs. So, if the landowner says something, then the landlord has to abide by that, and the tenant has to abide by that. So,
Sure.
I know there's a lot of misunderstanding going on right now, so I'm setting up some meetings to try and clarify that and get answers for everybody as to why it takes so long.
Where are most people turned down that you've seen? Like which?
I haven't actually turned down too many. I had one owner that built a new deck, but they wanted to have 400 square feet, but because they had a concrete patio next to their cabin, that exceeded the 400 square feet. So I worked with them, and we came up with the conclusion that if they enclosed that patio, which was allowed because it doesn't exceed the square footage of the cabin, and I think it was a simple enclosure, like a screen enclosure, then they could have their 400 square foot deck. So sometimes you have to, work with them to get what they want, but, I'm trying to think of.
Work within the BORs.
Yeah, within the site
restrictions.
guidelines, yeah. I'm not sure if I've actually, yes, I denied one. I'm trying to think what it was for. They wanted to expand their deck because they had somebody with a disability, but they did not want to make it ADA accessible from where you park the vehicle to get on there. So they wanted to widen the deck for the wheelchairs supposedly, but they didn't want to make it accessible from the vehicle via wheelchair to get there, so they physically would have to lift the wheelchair up. And so, yeah, that one was denied. But we do make accommodations in the guidelines with the Bureau Rec for ADA accessibility for if they need that.
So when there's a comment, it's like halfway down the first page under trailer number 87, and it's talking about a tree removal, and it says lot owner responsibility.
Yeah, so everybody has a lot permit, which allows them to utilize the space. They used to be called a lot lease. Now they're called a lot permit. And so, because that's the landscaping,
Okay.
then that falls on the owner to manage that. So if a tree needs to be removed or limbed. And I know in the past, I believe County Parks has contracted or done some of that work ourselves, but really that's not the intent of the lease. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Sorry, one last question. So we have a number of these that the submittal was back in 2021, 22. Is that typically the homeowner just kind of abandons the idea, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
so like the first one up there, that one, we've had conversation back and forth, it kind of died. We needed to prepare a limitation on where they could do the erosion repair and lay some base for parking because it fell outside of their defined lot. So it's not technically in their lot permit. And I may not have updated that. Some of these kind of fall through there without updates, but. And then on page 2, there's a whole stack of them at the bottom, no info as of January 27th, 23. So.
Any other questions for Michael?
I've got one, Michael. You and I have talked about it before, and I just, you were going to talk to the Visit Casper folks concerning money that might be available for,
For grant writing.
there we go,
Yes,
grant
so-
writing, right?
So I did have a meeting with them. It was either Monday or last Friday. I have to look at my notes. Did sit down with Tyler Doherty and Amanda Sewell there, and I discussed that. I discussed the projects. I provided the grant writing proposal that when I had sat down with Angela, I had provided that to them. I have not heard if they want to do that. I know Amanda is going to assist with trying to write a grant for the Hell's Half Acre proposal kind of project. So she's going to work on that one. And right now, I need to get with Doug and see what he can assist with for writing some other grants proposals for the mountain, the summer trail plan, but they have not made a decision if that's how they're going to provide funding, or if they're going to provide it to the county or to user groups for grant. They did want to see what everybody's projects looked like, because if they do contract a grant writer, that writer will be limited in how many grants they could possibly write in the next 2 months. So, but I have not heard back from them on that yet.
Okay. We also, there's a committee for the Hell's Half Acres that's being organized for the 18th, I believe.
Yes, I forgot to add that. Yeah, so Visit Casper is quite interested in maybe doing some work out at Hell's Half Acre. So they created a committee with the State Outdoor Rec Department, and I've scheduled a field trip for May 18th from, I think, 12 to 4. Some of them have not ever been out there. I don't think Amanda's ever been out there, so kind of show what the concept is on the ground, show what the current conditions are, and get some insight as to what we should actually do, because maybe my vision for Hell's Half Acre is not what really should be done. So the committee's going to kind of refine that and see what needs to be changed or added or taken out. So
You know, I'm sure with the weather we're having right now, that's going to be looked at. I was up there Monday and headed to Lander, so I just jumped in there. There's still snow up on the ridge.
Right.
And I'm sure with this rain now, right now, there's probably, you can't get down in there.
Yeah, so right now you would not be able to drive down there. We could walk from the top,
Right.
you know, so, but it'll depend on weather, so probably on the 17th, it'll be a go or no-go.
Right.
kind
It
of
was
decision.
all dry up on top,
Yeah,
you know, into the parking lot and whatnot.
Yeah.
But just overlooking into the Hell's Half Acre, you couldn't tell whether it was wet or dry.
right, and all of the work that I kind of see happening is up on top.
Right.
So.
Okay.
There's one little thing down below that we need to fence off a old water well area because it's a safety deal. And, you know, potentially, we might be able to put a guzzler for wildlife off of that water supply, you know, to provide a small area of water for wildlife.
Okay. Well, if you need, I go up there often just because I'm getting stuff on the lander. So if you need some help of flag net instead of you making a separate trip,
Okay,
I'll be willing to do it.
great.
Any other questions for Michael? Okay, then I think we'll move on to the board's final item, which is the review of the board policies and procedures. Got everybody a copy that is a clean and a marked up version, and I'd like everybody to take a second to look through and let me know if they see anything else. And then we would entertain any motions for the adoption of the revised policies. One thing I see right off the bat is on the back, page 2, item 3.6. I missed deleting out the full struck-through part, so I circled that right before Natrona County Parks. It needs to be removed, the ROC. Okay, this is the marked-up version. Okay. I was talking about the clean version. Page 2, item 3.6. There's, that needs to be cleaned out. Does anybody else see any other corrections? Well, you guys look through that. Just for the public's information, Michael, a month or so ago, had uncovered the Parks Board policies and procedures, and we've been looking for that for a while for some guidance as to this board's mission statement and its functioning. And Michael found it, and we're looking at updating some of the language to replace outdated references to the, used to be the Roads, Bridges, and Parks Department, and now they're pretty well separate entities. We updated that language, and we also wanted to update the portions of the document that defined the quorum and makeup of the board. Because previously, under the existing policies, you would need at least 4 members as quorum. And as we all know, we just recently got up to a full board staffing. So during those periods of time when we are not fully staffed at a 5-member board, we would be unable to do any functions as a board. So we're revising the quorum to be based off of the appointed number, a simple majority of the appointed number members to the board, so that even in times when we're not fully staffed, the board can still function. And that's pretty much the goal to the revisions here. We've also clarified some of the language around our direction and directives for interacting with users and groups, just to clean up some old language. But the only material changes are really towards the quorum and board functioning based off of the appointed members. Anybody else have any other corrections they'd like to see? Okay. Do we have any motions for the adoption of the policies and procedures with the one identified correction to 3.6?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the policies and procedures as presented in this document.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we need a full vote of all 4 members of the board. So can I get a yay or a nay?
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. And as moved, we will adopt the revised board policies and procedures.
The only thing I asked the board on these policies and procedures is submit this to the legal department.
We already did.
Okay.
It's pending their review. And
Yeah.
as you well know. So if legal comes back with any other revised recommendations, we'll revisit and re-revise. Now that's the last items on the board's agenda. We'd like to open the session to public comment. If we have any members of the public that would wish to address the Parks Department and Board, we'd be glad to hear from you.
You gotta press the button there.
When
till
it goes
turns
green,
There
it's
you go.
there.
Now it's working?
Now
Oh,
you're
yeah,
live.
I'm loud. Well, I want to comment first about the trail master plan. It looks to me like the changes that were made were fairly minor and not material. And I'm somewhat puzzled by the sudden position by Mike to postpone pushing this forward until June. I mean, I know he's gotten public comments. I've made public comments. Bruce Lamberson's made public comments. How many emails have you received?
Probably 10.
And
Probably 10.
from people that were supportive?
They were all
or-
in favor of it, yes.
Okay, so you've had a significant amount of public input. I see no need to delay this further because Mike didn't get it on the web page so that people could access it easier. I made sure that the master plan that was made available to me back in March or thereabouts was disseminated, so that's why you've got 10 public comments. You know, it is a little discouraging that the plan wasn't put on the webpage back in February when it was first received. That's the whole point of getting these plans and getting them out for input and public comment. You know, again, I think the opportunity's been there because I've made it be disseminated to the public. And as you can see from the comments that have been received by Mike, the public has had some say. And I think just delaying it another month is unnecessary and unwise. You know, there's still an opportunity for some grants that are going to come up that need to be processed now that could implement part of that master plan the sooner it's adopted. And I think it would be easy to proceed with that if the plan gets adopted sooner than later. It's also possible that some of the volunteer groups would come forward and indicate their willingness to take on some of the work described under the master plan if it's officially adopted and then they know that they can do so. Bruce was very adamant about that position when we've talked, that he feels that this summer work could get done if the plan is adopted. So there's really two pressing things about getting it adopted sooner than later. One is those groups that would volunteer their time need to get organized and schedule the time to do it. and they need to have an answer sooner than later. And then again, processing grant applications are dependent on this plan being adopted, and that needs to be done sooner than later. The second thing I wanted to address is the Hell's Half Acre project. Here you're talking about working on a grant application for that project, and Mike admits that there isn't really an established concept of what to do out there. And that's something that needs to be properly vetted and studied, perhaps, to determine just what can be done out there within the financial constraints of the county parks budget, as well as what's appropriate to go out, to open up out there that won't improperly impact that area in a way that it won't recover from, because that's a very sensitive area. The soils are flaky, and if you get people just trampling everywhere, you're going to destroy it. So it seems to me that you're really premature about even talking about a grant application for that project until that vetting process has been thoroughly done. And to me, you've already got something that's been thoroughly vetted in the form of this trail master plan. That's where the grant application efforts should be concentrated, in my opinion. So for my 2 cents are worth, that's what I would like to see done.
Thank you, Keith.
Let's see, Austin Burgess. What do you guys want to know? You need to know address to, like the BOCC stuff too?
So.
Okay.
It's up to the chairman.
Austin Burgess, president of CWTA. So Keith, we actually need to meet. So I've been on the phone with him quite a bit. So I'm going to take this away from just me, I stuff. I definitely think that what the Central Wyoming Trails Alliance has put forth on the effort in this trail plan deserves to get pushed forward a lot faster than June. I would really like to see if that can, those like we were just talking about, like what Keith just said, the changes are very minimal on that plan, and they were designed to, I believe after my conversations with Mr. Brown, was to address some issues that the BOCC was, so they can work within the confines of that plan a little bit better. I would like to see that plan move forward, and mainly because on that volunteer side, because I am part of an organization that is fully charged, ready to go on doing some really good changes working within the confines of that plan. We cannot plan for anything until that is actually approved. We can't get grants until that's actually approved. And I feel like we're on, at the very first time in many, many years, we're on the cusp of something great for the community and for Wyoming, and all of Wyoming, but effectively Casper and Natrona County. So I would like to say I would really like to see this move forward, because there's a lot of things that our organization can bring of quality work. I know that we're looking at doing a paid. Did that go out, or do I just need to get closer to it? I'll just lean down. Getting a professional company in to do the work. Our organization is very competent on being able to do some very quality, professionally built trail redesigns and maintenance and stuff like that, on entering in a better memorandum of understanding or a maintenance agreement with the county on these particular items within that trail plan. So in short, I would love to see that get moved forward a lot sooner than later, obviously, because summer's going to be here and be gone, and we're going to have yet another year of no trails going on, and we're losing volunteerism on this side of stuff because of this. And I think that if we can work together, this can all stop, and we can actually move forward for something for the greater good of the community. Second, bridle trail, please reach out. I know that mountain bikes got shut down, and we are primarily a mountain bike organization. However, that's not our only gig. CWTA has done a lot of work with the bridle trail. So being an advocate and maybe another set of eyes on what the Conservation Corps can do up there, and some work, because I noticed in the agenda it was looking for potential, projects or ideas of where concentration of work efforts and stuff like that. So please reach out to us on that. And other than that, I would love to see the brakes get pumped on the Hell's Half Acre project. For the simple fact, I feel that that's just low-hanging fruit, and it's something that can get done when there's a lot of other things out there that have been in the works that can affect the community a lot better than a project that requires somebody to drive an hour out of town. And that's just my personal opinion on that one. But I'm really excited to see where we're going to be going forward on this master plan, and I'd love to see it happen sooner than later. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, Mike, let's make sure we reach out to Austin for the bridle trail walkthrough when we do that, because
Yeah,
It
yeah, I'll
would
get
be-
with you and him, and we'll schedule a couple of trips up there.
that'd be great.
I'm
Thank you,
slow,
Austin.
just be wary, I'm slow.
I'm slower.
I don't move very fast on that hillside.
And just to clarify where the board is with the summer master trail plans, we had approved at a prior meeting with changes, and those changes are now in. So now it's in the BOCC and Parks Department court, and I believe there are going to be public notice requirements. So it's going to be up to the standard timeframes for approval timelines, even with everybody being interested in completing them as fast as possible. There are going to be constraints that are legally binding on BOCC approvals. I'm sure the commission will speak to that in further detail when the items are brought before them, but I believe everybody is well aware of the interest in this project, and we're trying to make it move. Any other final board comments before we close out the evening?
Commissioner North, is it appropriate to
Yep.
ask him a question?
Answer it for him.
Right. We have dealt with legal for years. It just is slowing the process up of a lot of the projects that we have sent to BOCC. Is there any way we can get that moved?
We're going to have
Quicker-
a full staff upstairs in June. This year, we have hired a county attorney, so we will not only will have our full county attorney, but we'll also have 2 deputy attorneys. There's been some restructuring, and we're going through that process so that legal can actually, so legal can actually take care of the legal things that they need to. That's going to expedite things quite a bit. So I know that has been slow in the past, and all I can tell you is that they're trying to catch up. There was a lot of things that have come due this year that I don't want to say they took precedence, but they had to be done in a very short amount of time that came to us really fast. Grant request, some contracts and stuff that had to be done. So those kind of got pushed to the front end of the shelf, and so they're moving forward. They're getting things done as quickly as they can. And once we have the full staff up there, I think that's going to help dramatically as far as being able to get things pushed through and done in a little bit quicker manner than they have been in the past. So,
Okay, just a quick question on the master plan. We've okayed it, we've sent it to BOCC. Do you have to send it to legal to get that okay? And if that's the case, we're going to be waiting.
you guys, it should have already been in legal's hands. If I,
Legal, last time I sent it to the commissioners, legal was copied on it, so they're familiar with the project. Tomorrow, I will submit this to the commissioners, to the chairman requesting that it be reviewed and approved, or reviewed and adopted by the commission. I'll do that with a memo that'll go out tomorrow, and so it will not make Tuesday's meeting, and the next meeting is June, correct?
Yes.
And that's the budget hearing, so it probably won't make that meeting.
Well, we actually have a couple of different ones. We actually have a budget hearing, a full day that's an additional meeting, and then we have a half day, and then we have a regular hearing, or a regular meeting. But I don't know what that schedule's gonna be like right now. Unfortunately, this time of year, with budgets and everything else, it's gonna be pretty tight as far as what the commission can actually hear and do until the 1st of July when we get the budgets taken care of. So there's a lot of stuff on the plate, but if we can get this back from legal, we get the notifications out and, give people a chance to respond, and it should be a fairly simple process as far as adopting it at that point.
And Michael, maybe we can request that IT post it up on the Parks website, just so that we can start.
Yeah,
any
I'll get
required
it,
public-
I'll email it to the commission, and I'll send a request to IT to get it posted on the
Okay.
document page.
When legal gets their eyes on it, then maybe that will suffice for the initial public notice, or at least accelerate it, who knows? But,
That's up to legal.
yeah,
If
that's.
I am not gonna answer that question. That's their call as far as when that starts and when it doesn't. So, they're the lawyers. I'm gonna let them be the lawyers and tell me what's legal and what's not. So we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Any other board questions or comments? Commissioner North, do you have anything you'd like to share?
I think there's a lot of stuff that's been in the works for a long time, and I'm glad that we're moving forward. The work out at Pathfinder is moving really well. Obviously, with the weather that we've had this year, we've been real limited on what we can and can't do and where we can do things. And it may be a little bit longer, and now with this rain coming in, it may be a little longer yet. So there's going to be some things that pop up that it's not that we are trying to neglect things, it's just that sometimes you just can't get to everything right off the bat. And this year has definitely been a challenge. And we've got a lot of stuff coming up in the future. So that's pretty much it. The one thing I do want to reiterate, if you're going to Pathfinder, go slow. Because it's like Michael said, you'll be driving along on that road to Pathfinder. It looks fine. You come up over the top of a hill and the road is trashed. And if you hit that with your boat, you're probably going to be doing some damage to something, either your vehicle or the boat. So please drive slow when you're going out there, at least from the highway into to where you start down the hill. That's where most of the damage occurred. But there are some pretty severe spots out there if you go out there. So be careful.
Thank you, Commissioner. And,
Well, hold on, I just want to clarify on Hell's Half Acre. So that was a concept in my head. I mentioned it because we were brainstorming for projects at the Natrona County Outdoor Recreation Collaborative meetings, and there were people that were interested. One of them is Amy Crawford, who is a representative for the state outdoor rec department. Another one was Amanda Sewell with Visit Casper. So Amanda had offered to prepare a grant for that project. So I was not going to sideline that project when I had people that were interested in pursuing that project.
exactly, it's
so-
not detracting from your resources.
Right.
For the
At this
pursuit of
time,
that.
it's just a vision to see what we can do out there. It may not happen, we may not get a grant, but there's no reason to not. If somebody wants to pursue that, I'm going to let them pursue it.
Thanks.
Also on that, Michael, just to help you with that, the committee was formed for that specific reason, to go out to take a look at Hell's Half Acre and to come up with a plan. And so it's a work in progress, and we know that. And with the Visit Casper being involved, looking at it heavily, this is why we've continued looking at it.
Right.
Amanda's not easy to say no to.
Okay, any other final comments? Okay, then I will bring this